The Volok armored personnel carrier is a licensed copy of the Austrian Panzer I, which means Vienna's position is changing in terms of military support of Ukraine. Slovenia has transferred 20 Volok 6x6 armored personnel carriers to Ukraine under complete secrecy. The vehicles have already been transferred to the armed forces of Ukraine, and their transfer lasted for several months, which were spent on the preparation of the APCs, their maintenance, and logistics, which included air transportation by C-17 aircraft to the logistics hub of NATO in Poland or Slovakia. All these details, despite the secrecy, were reported by 24UR, with reference to own sources in the Ministry of Defense of Slovakia. It notes that despite sending the request to the law enforcement agency, it is unlikely that official confirmation should be expected. At the same time, this whole story can be much more interesting and have much more positive consequences for Ukraine than the acquisition of 24 Volok-wheeled armored personnel carriers, which have armor against 12.7 mm in the frontal projection, armed with 40 mm automatic grenade launchers or machine gun weapons, and accommodate 3 fighters of the crew and 6 in the landing section. Volok is a licensed version of Panzer I by Daimler Puch Spezialfahrzeug, which is an Austrian company that is now part of the European division of the American giant General Dynamics. The vehicle was developed in the 80s, but production started in the mid-90s. Without Austria's consent, this transfer would be hardly possible at all, since it would be a violation of the re-export permit. Thus, if the transfer of Volok really took place, it opens up certain new possibilities, since earlier Vienna refused Ukraine's requests for armaments, although that Austria is not a member of NATO. But now it is quite possible that Austria will at least not block armament transmission. In this case we might talk about other Panzer I vehicles. For example, Belgium operates about 50 such units. However, the Panzer II on the 8x8 chassis, which was created already in the 2000s, is much more interesting in terms of combat capabilities. It is a full-fledged wheeled combat vehicle, and in addition to Austria, it is actively operated in Portugal, where once it was assembled under a license before its production was transferred to the Czech Republic. At the same time, the 14.5-ton vehicles is usually armed with a full-fledged combat module with a 30 mm automatic cannon. Another Austrian machine is the Ascot AFV, which is better known for 2 versions, the Austrian Ulan, the Spanish Pizarro, and also became the basis for the family of British Ajax armored vehicles. But if the British only began to receive the first Ajax in February 2021, then the Spanish armed forces operate more than 200 Pizarros. At the same time, it is also extremely important that their production in Spain is localized at the facilities of Santa Barbara and Indra. That is, behind the alleged transfer of only 20 armored personnel carriers from Slovenia, there are much greater possibilities, which mean the possibility, if not of receiving aid, then of ordering new vehicles for the needs of the armed forces Ukraine. The Volok is a 6-wheel drive, armored multi-purpose military vehicle which successfully incorporates technology to meet military tactical demands. The Volok can be equipped with different weapon systems up to cal 90 mm and has consistently proved itself around the world in the toughest tests. Its design complies with international standards. All 6 wheels driven, highly mobile, maneuverable, and extremely well balanced, the Volok delivers top performance on any terrain or in water. Its low silhouette, high-quality armor, and well-proven system guarantee maximum protection for the crew. The armored personal carrier Volok is available with 2 variants of weapon systems, both mounted on a gun mount. In addition, the vehicle is equipped with smoke/fragmentation grenade launchers, mounted on the hull. The crew consists of 9 men. The vehicle is intended to be used for the following tasks: Transportation to Ukraine was completed this week under conditions of complete secrecy. The operation itself lasted several months because the armored vehicles had to be prepared, serviced, and transported. The Bullock is powered by a 256 HP Steyr 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine and a hydrodynamically controlled automatic transmission, featuring 5 forward and 1 reverse gear. It can reach a maximum road speed of 110 km per hour and a range of 700 km.
Zelensky speaks by phone to China's Xi in their first call since war began. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Wednesday that he spoke with Chinese leader Xi Jinping for the first time since the war began, calling the phone call long and meaningful but giving few details. "I believe that this call, as well as the appointment of Ukraine's ambassador to China, will give a powerful impetus to the development of our bilateral relations," Zelensky tweeted. She said China would send a special representative to Ukraine for talks on resolving the crisis, state media reported. Amid the current rise of reasonable thinking and voices from all sides, we should seize the opportunity to build up favorable conditions for a political settlement of the crisis, she told Zelensky. Last month, she made a grand state visit to Russia in a show of strength, highlighting Beijing's bid for global leadership. It came shortly after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Zelensky, who has been visited by numerous world leaders in Kyiv, said previously that he has invited Xi to visit Ukraine. Beijing has positioned itself as neutral in the conflict and recently released a 12-point proposal for ending the war. Here's the latest on the war and its impact around the globe. Key developments. A Biden administration spokesman said Wednesday that the United States is glad to see that Xi and Zelensky connected in a phone call. John Kirby, the National Security Council spokesman, asked about the possibility of China brokering a negotiated settlement between Kyiv and Moscow. Said that any deal needs to be one that Zelensky accepts. "The only settlement that we think is worth pursuing is one that President Zelensky thinks is worth pursuing," Kirby said. German and British warplanes intercepted 3 Russian military aircraft over the Baltic Sea, German Air Force officials tweeted Wednesday. 2 Russian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27 fighter aircraft and 1 Ilyushin Il-20 aircraft flew in international airspace over the Baltic Sea without a transponder signal, Germany's Luftwaffe said. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the West of causing a deadlock over the Black Sea grain deal. The negotiations, he said during a news conference at the United Nations in New York, have been brought to a dead end by Western colleagues. Russia has indicated that it will not agree to extend the fragile pact that allows Ukrainian grain to be exported beyond May 18 unless its demands, which include rejoining the SWIFT banking system, are met. The grain deal has helped ease a global food crisis resulting from the war. Lavrov also alluded to the possibility of a prisoner swap for 2 Americans, Paul Whelan and Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who are detained in Russia. He referred to a number of Russians detained by the United States, telling reporters that the discussion of these matters exists but that such work is not public in nature. He was speaking at a news conference in New York, where Russia's month-long term as the rotating head of the UN Security Council is winding down. Battleground updates. Heavy, short-range combat continues in Bakhmut, according to a daily British intelligence update. The besieged area in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region has been the site of a deadlocked battle for months. Supply lines to Ukraine's forces in Bakhmut are being complicated by muddy conditions on unsurfaced tracks, it added. Analysts at the US-based Institute for the Study of War said in their latest assessment that Russian forces continue to mount ground attacks in and around Bakhmut, aided by fighters from the Russian mercenary Wagner Group. Ukraine is working with the FBI to collect evidence of war crimes, FBI Special Agent Alex Kobzanets told a conference. Ukrainian authorities are gathering phone data and geolocation information from battlefields, as well as forensic analyses of DNA samples to prove Russian war crimes. Kobzanets told the RSA Cybersecurity Conference in San Francisco, Reuters reported.